What's on the menu? We chat on some matzo balls with The Medium. The Medium is a psychological horror game developed by Team Blooper. Released on the Xbox January 28th, 2021. It is a very interesting game, and I'm going to fire this over to the one I thought would like it least, Patrick.
It was a good game. It's definitely scary. I couldn't wear the headset for very long, so the game wants you to play with the headset, but I couldn't do it. I tried, and I'm like, no, no, it's too much for me to play this without with the headset on. So I played all of this game with the headset off and with the TV on, and turned up a little loud. So I couldn't do the headset. Just it just gets to me because there's too much creepiness going on. Um, Team Bloober did a great job with this one, I have to say, because even though it is a horror game, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit, to the point where I beat it. I played through and beat the game as well. Um, it's I don't know if I would say it started off slow, but it did take a while to build up to where I thought it was because I thought it was going to be just a puzzle game the whole time because I'm like nothing's happening. I'm just going through, scrolling through, looking at all this and checking this stuff out, and the next thing you know, the game changes. So it definitely got to that point to where it was just like puzzle, 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 and then it changed. The story and everything changed. So, Russ, what'd you think, man? What'd you think about this one?
I was kind of worried. We got done with Call of the Sea it was or whatever it was a couple of weeks back. I was kind of worried. I was kind of nervous, but I said, you know what? I need to give this kind of game an opportunity, and I love it. This is a fantastic game. The puzzles are uh, difficult enough to make it interesting, but not so hard that you're banging your head against the wall. Um, I did put my headphones on, especially in the day room portion of it. I do regret that a little bit, especially that night that I did not sleep. That was just the sound was fantastic. The artwork is great. The one thing I don't want to spoil too much because we are trying to stay away from spoilers. But the one thing I do want to say is that at the very end of the game, there's a little blurb from the developer, and the developer said, this was a kind of a work of love, of passion, of like years of them developing this. Um, though I know there's some parts that kind of fall short in the game, I think overall for a game that came off of Game Pass that is a puzzle game, something I particularly do not enjoy, I had a good time with it. The story follows Marianne, who is the main protagonist, who is the medium. It is a well written story. It's another one that I really enjoyed the fact, kind of like what was the game we also reviewed? Why isn't it me or whatever? I can't remember now. That my
Tell me
mind.
me.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me why
Yeah.
that game there, like, yeah, that it kind of had that little twist at the end that really kind of just sunk the hooks into you. I enjoyed it. I can't say enough good things about it, but I will at this time so that I avoid even spoiling it myself, just because of the excitement. I'll pass it off to Nick and see what Nick has to say.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this game. It was a lot. It was a really good game. I enjoyed it from start to finish. It did have some slow times, but I mean, ultimately, I stayed engaged and really enjoyed every aspect of it. I wanted to continue, and it's not a super long game. Um, I think we probably all of us collectively, finishing the game probably put maybe 9 hours into it in total, 8 9 hours somewhere around there. So it's not a super long game, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great game to play, and you know, if you have an Xbox, it's on Game Pass. You should definitely play it. It's an awesome game, and I hope they continue to make, either the Medium Two or just something that falls off of this because it reminded me. It kind of reminds me of the old Silent Hill games. You have that forced perspective where the perspective kind of you have that particular perspective in a different area. it's a little bit different than the older games where the perspective would just stay in one spot and just follow you around. This one does, the camera does follow you and stuff like that, but it does have those first perspectives in different areas of the game where you go. So, but ultimately, yeah, I absolutely loved it, and this game was great. It was a lot of fun to play. I really enjoyed it. So I'm ready for more from the team. I know this team has made the Blair Witch Project, which did really well. I think last year, the year before last, when that one came out, and they also make Layers of Fear, which I own,
Yeah.
but I've never played them. So I've heard they're really good. But this team has a lot of promise with that survival horror aspect. So I'm excited to see what this team comes out with in the future. And this was another excellent game. And like Russ said, they do say at the end this was a passion project, and they want to thank everybody and really hope that everybody enjoys it. And I think that for me, I do, and I hope others enjoy it too. It got kind of mixed reviews when it came out. IGN gave it an 8, but a lot of places gave it kind of 6s and 7s. And me personally, I think it's up there with IGN's with an 8. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. There's not a lot of negatives I could really put in there. I mean, maybe there's some mechanics that were kind of annoying, but it wasn't enough to make me mark it down low. They were just stuff to get used to. So, ultimately in the end, I really enjoyed the game. And when I finished it, I was like, that was awesome. I wish there was more, really, in the end. So, but Shane, what do you guys say?
It is definitely an old school feel, just like you said. Definitely has the old Silent Hill vibes. I about quit the first 10 minutes in. It was almost too old school, and then it just started hitting that stride and going and going and going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It
But
does have that old
it's
school feel.
fantastic. It's one of the few games here recently I would give IGN credit for probably a pretty accurate review. Um, it's just a creepy ambiance. The sound is really good. I play with the headset just because I don't mind a little urine, so I can handle the fears a bit. Um, but the game itself, it really progresses at a great pace. It just gets better and better and better and better and better. It really does. Russ is typically a little behind everybody, but man, he wrecked this game, and that shows you how good it is. I mean, it's definitely a sleeper hit. If you have Game Pass, which you should, get it, check it out. If you don't have Game Pass, get it or go buy the game because it is well worth the money. It truly is. Um, my only complaint about it is that it started off a little too slow for me. That is it. But that was only like 10, 15 minutes. Um, the controls took a bit to get used to, but I think the controls are meant to give you that old school vibe as well. I mean, they could have went with a more updated, faster pace, mechanics of movement, but they did that for a reason. I think that was a purposeful choice to give you the old school vibes. The sound, like I said, is fantastic. The graphics, they're they're not terrible, but they could be a little better in my opinion. But they're definitely not terrible. And the game has some really interesting creatures. The Maw, um, well, he's a freak. He really did creep me out when I first ran into him. So, but other than that, I love the game. I really do. I mean, very few complaints about it, and I think an 8 would have been a solid number. I agree.
Yeah, my only and biggest real complaint is the force perspective. I mean, other than that, the game ran pretty good for me. I mean, as Shane said, the Maw, he kind of sucks, but he's supposed to suck. So,
I
mean,
gotta be honest. I kind of disagree in Shane's thought of like so. This is not a Series X game, correct? If memory serves me right, this
no,
is
it's
not.
only on the Series X and
It's
S.
yeah.
Okay.
Only on the
So
S and X and PC.
Yeah,
okay, so for one of the games that we played, I think this is one of the better looking games that we've played for the Series X. I thought it was a gorgeous game. I thought it was a great looking game.
And I would agree because without the hardware pushing the Series X and S, you wouldn't be able to do the split, the screen
Yeah.
split like it is.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful game too because you wouldn't be able to have what we have if this was on an older gen console at all.
I mean, when are we ever going to get the eyes right on any person? I don't know. I mean, I think that's like the what is that? That the enigma of gaming is eyes. So like, I mean, beyond that, I mean, like everything else was beautiful. I mean, the transition, being in that format whenever you go to the other world, and then that the falling apart, kind of falling to pieces, kind of fading out portion of it. I thought all that was I thought it was very, very beautiful game. I mean, that's probably what kept me going in those first, hour or so game. As we've all kind of said, these games all start out slow. We all have to kind of push ourselves through that first little bit. But I think Patrick had mentioned something in the beginning that was kind of annoying that we talked about before the podcast. But like for me, some of the only frustration that I had with the game is that they gave us game mechanics at one point in the game, and then they didn't necessarily work throughout the game, or there was parts where you worked with it. The first time that you run away from the mall, I'm thinking butterflies. I'm thinking, oh crap, I can't run through that. Well, the force perception kind of got it off kilter, and you couldn't see that you were supposed to take a left there for me. I mean, it wasn't anything that I couldn't get past, but at the same time, I mean, maybe that's added into the game to get that heart rate pumping. I mean, like my heart rate was pumping at that point. I was like, I got to get away from this dude, and so maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but that's really the only complaint, and it is a very minor complaint in my book. I think overall the game is fantastic.
And I think that falls back into the they designed it specifically to have that old school feel. You played Silent Hill, you played Resident Evils when they first came out. You were boned on those perspectives, giving you that what's around the corner feel everywhere. Is it a dog going to jump out? Is a bird going to jump out? Old school dinosaur going to jump out. It's and that's one thing I really enjoyed about it. But I don't know if a younger gamer who never experienced those games would enjoy it as much. But
Yeah, I wonder that too because this game reminded me a lot of. It really reminded me a lot of Silent Hill 2.
mhm.
That's what I
Yeah.
felt like. With Silent Hill 2 has the Pyramid Head that comes up every so often, and he's kind of a character that you can't get away from. You gotta have to hide from or just run from. And the mall in this game was that same type of thing.
Mhm.
And so this game reminded me a lot of that game. Just that a lot of that taking a lot of perspective from that game into this one. And so that's what it reminded me of. And also with the graphics thing too, the dual perspective, like the split screen. I don't
Yeah.
know. For me, that was really cool.
Oh, that was awesome. I
It
agree.
was it was annoying at first, I thought, but then it became more fluid and natural when it happened. So
But I find though, like as the longer scenes, sometimes I find that I would focus on one rather than the other. And I'm like, oh crap, what did
Oh
I
yeah,
miss from the other one? And have to go back and be like, look through the air. 'Cause I'm like, I was only
Yeah.
focusing on the real world or
yep.
the dust world, and I'm like, man,
yeah. It was a hard thing to get used to.
it was.
Just seeing both perspectives, and you're like, yeah, I would do the same thing. I would focus on one and not notice the other one. But still, I mean, I think taking that idea that Bloober came up
Mhm.
with that dual perspective could really work in a lot of different games
Mhm.
and be
Oh
a
yeah.
really cool addition to a lot of different games. Not even the survival horror genre, just different games in general.
Mhm.
Having that dual perspective like that was just really cool. Seeing the two different environments and controlling the same
At the
character.
same time, yeah.
Yeah,
I
no
liked
matter what you do in that perspective as a character, it portrayed in both scenes, and
Hmm.
that was really cool.
yeah, I liked how they worked it with the puzzles. I thought that was
Mm.
really interesting. You're looking up here. Oh crap! You missed it down here or whatever. You have to go back and tweak a little. I thought that was pretty cool. Like I said, I didn't like it at first, and then it became just a really interesting part the way they kept working it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I thought the game looked pretty, and I thought it looked great on the new consoles. And and it
Oh,
performed very well on the new Xbox Series X. I
I,
mean,
I
yeah,
thought so too.
yeah. I never experienced a hiccup one. But, as far as graphics, I think it could have looked better in my opinion. But I didn't. Like I said, it's not ugly at all. I mean, but you couldn't have done this game on an older system. I mean, you couldn't have. It's just really cool though how they did it. Yeah,
I
and I
think
would like to see more.
I think this game is like Nick was saying, it is a great testament to like an old school game. It's minimum functions. It's like you're not worried about holding down A and pressing RB and doing like, I mean, it's really fantastic in the
Mm.
simplicity, and it really felt. And probably the reason why I quote unquote got through it or sped through it was because I felt like I was watching a movie. I was participating in a movie, that I wanted to know what the end of that movie was. I mean, I wanted to get to the end of that movie, and like I said, with the puzzles being um, difficult enough to be challenging, but not hard enough to where I had to guide it, to go find a guide. I thought was really a delicate balance. And not that I don't mind puzzles. I mean, we played Immortal Phoenix. I mean, that had a lot of puzzles in it. I played a lot of games with puzzles in it. And I think the difference between this game and something like a couple of the story puzzle games we played before, especially when it comes to Call of the Sea for me or whatever that one was there. I think the story with this one really, really intrigued me. The Polish vibe, the Russian vibe, the that era vibe, that being in the '80s kind of like thing, like all of that kind of played into it for me. That just was like, I just got to keep playing. The little, this is really not a spoiler, but like one of the parts that I love the most is just a little Easter egg of George Orwell's 1984, one of my favorite
Yep,
books. I thought
found it.
that was fantastic to see that in there before we were about to go in to the real story. Um, so I without trying to sound like I'm on repeat, it definitely easily worth a a Game Pass download, even more worthy of a $30 to $40 easy $40 price point, and being very happy with only 8 to 10 hours of gameplay.
Oh,
yeah.
definitely, definitely.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you know, we don't rate games, but I definitely think it's worth the. I, here's what's bad about it. This game was good, and I would have never played it if it wasn't for Game Pass or the podcast,
Yep.
because that's why. And if it came out on if it came out on Game Pass, I would have probably checked it out. But if I would have had to pay for it and been not on doing the podcast, I would have never got it, because I'm like, it's not up my alley. But another mark for Game Pass, in my opinion, because
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
game.
another winner chicken dinner on that one. I mean, and we had I think Nick had his eye on this one. Of course, Nick is our resident horror lover, so
Oh,
horror.
horror. Okay, making sure.
Or,
Right.
yeah.
Clear.
Yeah.
Ever since they showed the trailer for this one, I was down to play it. So
Yeah.
even if it wasn't on Game Pass, I would have bought it. Um,
Hmm.
but and even if I would have bought it and it wasn't on Game Pass, now that I've beaten it, I know I would have enjoyed it. And it probably would have been one that I would have been like, "Hey guys, you really need to play this."
Right.
It probably would have ended up on the podcast anyway,
Yeah.
as just a purchase.
Right. That's what. So if it wasn't for those two factors, I would have never played this game. If we were all friends, Nick would have recommended it. I'd be like, no, it's another horror game. I'm out. I'm not going to spend $30 on that or
Yeah.
$40,
Yeah.
because I think
Yeah.
even outside of Game Pass, is it only a $40 game or a $50 game? It's not full price, right?
I think
Don't
it's only a
believe it
$50
was.
game.
Yeah.
I think it's only $50.
Yeah. But
So
even I like these games, and I probably would have been playing something else, and would have been like, I'll download it and I'll play it later. But I probably would have missed it if it wasn't for Game Pass and the podcast. Uh, and I'm glad I did. Really, really happy I did. That's one thing. I mean, we always go on about Game Pass on this show, and this is just another reason I think developers are really leaning towards Game Pass more and more, is because these developers never heard of him before. I mean, if you told me who Blooper was, I'd have been, I don't know. But now I know, and that's a name I'm going to be looking for other games.
Right, and they already made back their production costs or
That's
development
right.
costs in the first couple days or week or
Yeah.
so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, the
so
game's not even been out a week yet, right? Because it came out last week.
it came out
28th,
last
so
Thursday. So
Thursday,
yeah,
so yeah.
they've already recouped their development costs. So I mean, yeah, it tells you already right there that a lot of people were interested in this type of game, interested in this type of genre, and that more than likely you know, they made a really good game, and they really did. I
Yeah.
mean, don't take the reviews that you see out there, and maybe IGN's because they gave it an 8, but most of them, the rest of them, gave it like 6s and stuff. And I think this game deserves a higher score than that. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why these other ones didn't. They seem to have some sort of problem with something. I don't know what it was, but
and
The amount of
I think it would have fallen back to what I was saying about it. Having that old school feel. I mean,
yeah,
are
well, but
these
you can't,
are these guys
you
in their
can't use that.
20s or 30s?
I can't think you can. I don't think you can use that as an excuse because we have games like Carrion and stuff like that, and those 8-bit games that are coming out that are like blowing up. I mean, what is it, Among Us and stuff like that are kind of like old school genre games that are really doing well. And then this game is like Nick said, like I'm just sitting here thinking about it, and it keeps just processing in my mind. You're right, Nick. This is so Silent Hill 2. Like it is just it's just that perfect genre of story and then interaction that keep you pushing through the game. Yeah, it's 8 to 10 hours, but it's better than 20 or 30 hours that we put into Valhalla or something like that. Almost. I
Yeah.
mean, in my opinion, I think it's almost better. Of course, you can't compare; it's kind of apples to oranges, but it's still the same. It's still the same feeling I get after I accomplished finishing the game. Was like I feel good that I played this game. It was great.
Yep. It's not a typical game in my tool belt, but I enjoyed it. It's definitely outside of my wheelhouse of games, but I really enjoyed it. And the closer, I would say at the halfway point, it just sucked me in. I couldn't stop playing. I'm like, I got to get done with this. I want to know what's happening here. What's going on? What's going to happen next?
Yeah. And I think everybody that plays it's going to know exactly what you mean when they get to that spot. Just like you said, the halfway point. That's when it's like, oh my god.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a very significant thing that happens there that we're not going to spoil, even though I'm dying to talk about it because I believe it is probably my Nick's favorite part in the game, or at least the start of our favorite part within the game, which is the entrance of another character that we won't talk about right now.
yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, my only complaint so far is just the forced perspective. I mean, it plays into, like you guys said, the running away and all this stuff and not knowing what's around the next corner. But in my opinion, it's not well executed in some spots. Like some spots when you're trying to hide from something, you can't tell where it's at because the forced perspective keeps you facing forward and it's behind you and it's searching for you and you're like, where's it at? I can't see it. Am I hiding in a good enough corner? Or is he going to walk up behind me and just goose me or something? I'm like, where's he at? I'm like, I can't look over my shoulder. All I can do is look forward and move forward. But the whole problem is if you do move too much, they'll find you because you're kind of sneaking and hiding and stuff like that. And I'm like, he's right behind me somewhere. I can hear him, but I can't see him, and I can't turn around and see where he's at. So in a few places, it doesn't work out very well. But for the most part of the game, it does. Because there's a scene where you're towards the end of the game where you're running away from something, and it's like shifting between both worlds, and you're like, where am I gonna go? The bridge is out or whatever's out, and you're just running, and it kind of
That part was
That was cool.
it was
that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the coolest thing. I
Yeah.
mean, with these next gen systems, just that swap between the two worlds, like right on the fly,
instantaneous.
was so cool. I was like, that is the coolest part of this game for sure.
Right.
I mean, one of the coolest parts. There's a lot of cool parts, but that was definitely one of them that I was like, oh, this is awesome. I love this.
Right. Yeah. It's really hard not to spoil this because I'm just like I want to talk about the
It
games,
is.
but I wanna talk
There's
about
so
the
many.
people.
There's so many good things in this game. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you have Game Pass, I don't know if it's on Game Pass for PC. Not 100% sure on that. I think it
I don't-
is.
I,
But I'm
no,
not
I mean,
100%
it's on PC, so I don't know why it wouldn't be on Game Pass.
Right.
But
But either way, if you have a PC or if you have an Xbox, I think this rates pretty high on Steam as well. I think it's in the very popular. It's not overwhelmingly popular, which is their highest ranking, but it's in very popular, which is a really good ranking um, for Steam games. So, I mean, really, if you're looking for a good Steam game, anything with very popular or up, you're going to enjoy. So, clearly, a lot of people like it, the same as us. And, yeah, I mean, this game is just, if you have an Xbox Series X, this is the first game that's come out that's not on the regular Xbox One system. So,
Right.
And hopefully we see more of that.
yeah.
I was just thinking while I was playing it earlier today. You know what this game really reminds me of? Reminds me of Stranger Things, kind of. I don't know why. But
Yeah.
for some reason I was playing it. I was thinking this is like Stranger Things without the kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
it just gave off that weird vibe. This is the whatever I can't remember what they called it in the Stranger Things.
Upside down, I think.
The upside down.
Yeah.
Upside
Yeah.
down. So I actually got that kind of vibes from it. But like I said, that was like my biggest complaint in the game was just the forced perspective at certain points. I don't really have, I mean, outside of us saying the mall is a huge pain in my backside because it always seemed to be at my backside killing me. But that's mechanic of the game, which is supposed to be there to build anxiety and build tension in the game.
Right. And Troy Baker does the voice of the mall, which is, I love the lines from the mall.
Whenever
It's
you get
so
whenever you
good.
get the mall and the just the dialogue he has is
The dialogue
creepy.
is like, it's
It's
super creepy.
Troy
And
Baker is the Sam Jackson of video games. He's in everything. There's
Oh, yeah.
nothing he's not in. I think I saw him at the factory actually stamping the desks.
The voice acting overall in the whole game was very solid.
Yes.
I mean, usually we have that one or two characters that we're like just annoyed with, or they basically become the butt of every joke for the next good month or two.
The
Thank you,
pronto.
thank you, Final Fantasy 15. But like, but every one of them. I mean, even sadness, even her voice acting. I mean, that's a little girl voice acting that was fantastic.
That was really good.
I mean, I don't have a complaint on the voice acting or the schema or the visuals of the game at all. I mean, like Patrick said, yeah, there's some forced perspective. There's some mechanic issues within some things. They teach you how to do certain things, and then you're kind of like subjected to when you use those things, but they don't really prompt you, which not that we need prompting as gamers, not that we're asking for the prompting, but if we're going to have consistency throughout the game, sometimes there was parts where that was missing just a little bit, but nothing that made me go, "Oh gosh, I can't stand that this game's doing that."
And,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you guys paid much attention to it, but the music in the game was really great. Like
Oh
the
gosh,
score
Yeah.
for the game, especially as you start to get towards the end and there's more score and you get more.
Oh,
of
yeah. Yeah.
the
Towards the
tones of
end, there's
score,
some great music.
and you're just
And
like,
the composer is from the guy who did the composing for Silent Hill.
oh well.
You can tell. Yeah, you can see that vibe.
Yeah.
Everything about the sound in this game was really top notch. I mean, the ambiance of just walking through an area was really good. The creepy little in the back corners, man. That was probably the hardest part with headphones. Like, oh, damn it!
That's why no headphones for me.
But that's what makes it. That's what makes it really fun. It's and that's one reason like Senua's Saga was so freaking good. Audio is like the new visual. Everybody wants a better visual, but nowadays it's sound. Everybody's pushing towards sound, and I like it
yeah.
until I wet
Yeah.
myself. But I like it.
Yeah, I have an Adobe Atmos on my Xbox headset, and I'm like, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I'm like,
Yeah.
looking over my shoulders, going, "What is that noise? Where's that coming from?" And I can't turn around in the game, so that makes it even worse.
Right?
Yeah.
Can't move that camera.
Right? You're
Yeah,
just like moving
I did a
forward.
little over half the game with my headphones on. I did a little over half the game, but once you get kind of into that fourth, or I'm sorry, that third to the last three missions, I was like, look, I'm just too stressed out right now. I'm not going to do this. And all the lights are on in the house, and the everything is basically as bright as can be. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But it was solid. Very very good game. I mean, I don't know how much more we could praise the game overall, but I definitely um, huge recommendation from this guy.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
It would
must.
be
It's
a
a
buy.
must play.
It's a
Definitely.
after playing it, it's a buy for me at retail price, which is, as Nick was saying, is $50, 49.99.
Yeah.
So for me, it would be a definite buy after seeing what I've seen and played what I've played. But
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
definitely want
I
more from
agree.
the developer.
Yeah, I'm hoping they make another medium game or just take that what they've done with this and make another game of it because I'm really looking forward to more of this and
Yeah.
I agree with Patrick. It would be a day one buy for me. I would pay full price for this. It was a great experience. I didn't have an instance where I didn't enjoy it or I didn't like it. I mean, and that's what you're looking for when you pay full price. You know, it's not really the longevity of the game. It's do you enjoy the game from start to finish? And if you do, then it's worth price of admission, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And their storytelling is fantastic. So whatever the game is next, it doesn't have to be a horror genre because their storytelling in this was really, really good.
I'm telling you, we just need to
They
write to
make
them.
mainly horror games, but
Yeah,
yeah,
because they did the Blair Witch and those.
yeah, and they did the Layers of Fear, which are all horror games. So
We need to tell them they need to do a Stranger Things game.
If anybody should, they should. Yeah.
All right.
yeah, I mean this development team. I mean, I think Layers of Fear started on PC, and then they started kind of going into Xbox with the Blair Witch project. I didn't know Layers of Fear is on Xbox as well, but you know they kind of made the Blair Witch Xbox and PC at the same time, and then this one. So, you know, they're not owned by Microsoft or anything like that, but they seem to create their games mainly for Xbox. So I'm really looking forward to what they create next.
Yeah, because this game was supposed to come out on the PlayStation when
Oh,
it was
was it?
originally announced.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it was originally announced, it was announced for PlayStation. It was actually originally announced for the original consoles, all of them, but never
Maybe
made it.
Microsoft's looking to purchase them or something.
Maybe, but maybe
Yeah.
Microsoft gave them a sweetheart deal. We'll put
Yeah.
you on. We'll put you
Hey.
on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Put it on our system, man. Here's some cash. They're like, okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
Good deal.
But
Hey.
I think we can all agree it's a buy, a play.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yep. A day one buy for me as well. You know, I wish it would have been a little bit longer. Honestly, I mean, it
Yeah, I
was a
could've
little
played
bit
more.
short. I could have played a little bit more. I don't know how much more I could have played. You know, I'd had just about enough of them all, so I don't know.
I could have played more, but it was a nice, sweet. I mean, it's not short. I mean, you think about 8 to 10 hours. That's a pretty average, you know, not like RPG, but a pretty average like action game. So you know, it was the right amount of time. But yeah, I could definitely put some more hours into it. But it did end in a good spot. So
Yeah.
you know, it is what
Yeah.
it is.
It didn't wear out its welcome yet. So
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking for more.
yep, I don't know what the studio's working on next, and I don't think they're a very large studio. So
No, there's a small team. I'm pretty sure.
So it's going to take them a while to put out another game, but I look forward to, or maybe they're already working on it. Who knows? I look forward to something, additional from them because, I hate to say this, but the game really has no replayability. Unless you just want to go back and grab some of the things you missed, some of the pages or the recordings or
Yeah.
the collectible things that you don't
Right.
really need to progress the game.
Yeah.
But in my
But-
opinion, you've already played through it, so you know what's happening. So some of the psychological aspect of the horror is gone because you're like, okay, I know this scene's coming up where I'm going to about to do this. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
because I didn't even notice there wasn't difficulty levels.
No,
Uh-uh.
there's no difficulty
Nope.
options or anything.
Yeah, so that's probably their own downfall. But I mean, and a
Yeah,
psychological.
I mean, unless you
horror-
wanted to go back for like some of the achievements and stuff. I mean, through a single playthrough, you're gonna get like 90% of the achievements. I think there's
got-
only 4 I didn't get.
I had the same thing. I got all but 4.
So it's like, and a couple of them I could get pretty easily if I just went back and played. But it's just like, it's a one and done experience really. Unless you just want to play through the game again. I mean, it is good, but you kind of already know the story. You know what's gonna happen.
Is there
so-
Is there a chapter select?
No, you can go
No,
back to
but
the same-
they auto saves at every chapter start.
Yeah.
So you could go to your load and just
Okay, that's
load
true.
up the
Yeah.
the start of the chapter.
But I want to go back with all my power.
Right. Nope, can't do
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's definitely, that's the only, that's one of the things that there's no replayability for me. But I honestly feel like I got my money's worth and I played enough.
Yeah.
Maybe this game will help me build up my tolerance and I can go back and play
You,
Setsuna.
you really don't. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing with this game. It's like once you complete it, you really don't feel like there needs to be any replayability. Like once you
I
get through it, you're like, I'm satisfied with this.
Feels
Yeah.
This is great.
complete.
Like,
well,
yeah, contract signed, deal's complete. It's
right. Well, I
good.
mean, that's for somebody like us, but I mean, a lot of people are, a lot of people, and I will honestly say, a lot of people base their value of a game on how much time am I going to get out of this.
Yeah.
This 10 hours, if you're doing a full exploration of everything, is 10 hours enough for $50 for you?
For
You
this
know,
game, yes.
I would say yes in this game because I'm
Yeah.
not going to replay it, and I got my money's worth out of it. But a lot of these guys will buy a $60 game, like for example, we just said Valhalla, and they'll play 80 plus hours in something like that, and
Oh, yeah.
that's money well spent for them. But a 10-hour game for $50 may not be. But in my opinion, it is worth it. It's very much worth it. The single playthrough is just like Russ said. I really honestly felt like it was a horror movie that I got to participate in, but it didn't feel like a choose your own adventure game. They're starting to do
Oh,
that in
oh,
movies.
yeah.
It felt like a real life story that I'm just part of, and that I'm driving, and a scary, scary game.
It makes me
Very
think
creepy
about. It makes me think about a movie. Like, for example, we're all gonna go watch the Star Wars, the Marvels. Like, we're gonna go pay full price for those, and some of them will be great. And we're like, oh, I'm so glad I spent that much money. We got satisfaction out of it. Then we'll be one where we're like, oh, I can't believe we spent that much money. Whatever.
Last three.
But then they have something like this game here, and I equate it to something like, for me, this is just an opinion. The movie Knives Out. Knives Out was a movie that I went to go see in the theater, paid full price for it in the theater. And after I watched the movie, I was like, I'm so glad I watched that in the theater and I paid full price for it. I thought it was a great movie, and it was like that kind of satisfaction is how I equate this game. It's like one of those movies that, you know what? Was it a blockbuster? Was it super high on the CGI and stuff like that? No, but it was a great story. It was quality twists, and it kept me engaged the whole time. So I was more than happy to pay that full price. Not that we had to here with Game Pass, thank God, but had we had to, I would have felt the same way.
Yep, I agree with that statement.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So,
Anybody
yep,
got
yep,
any final thoughts on this thing?
Play it
play it.
Play it.
now. After this.
After
After
this.
listen to this.
Right
Play it.
now. As a matter of fact, pause, go play it, come back.
Yep.
Then you'll know what we're talking about.
It's a no. We don't rate anything. Thumbs up.
Yeah, we don't rate anything. It's a buy or don't buy for the price it is
Yep.
from us.
Yep. And we may all want to buy it, but I believe this time we're all definitely in agreement.
Yep.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.